Thursday, September 29th, 2016, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So the U.S. Congress has overridden President Obama's veto against JASTA, which stands for Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, which basically gives the families of the victims of the 9/11 attack, gives them the right to sue foreign governments or foreign states for sponsoring that event. It's related to that 28-page document, and it's also not only for sponsoring the event, but also not doing enough to stop, their citizens to perpetrate, the terrorist act. In the case of Saudi Arabia, most of the hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. And in the document, the 28-page document, there's a lot of talk about that, but that's not the point of this video. So it was a clear override of the veto. I think the Senate voted 97-1. In the House, it wasn't as close, but they had enough votes to override the first time that Congress has overridden one of President Obama's vetoes. So last April, I made a video, and it was quite popular. It said, and the title was "Saudi Arabia could liquidate up to $750 billion in U.S. investments." Nobody really knows how many treasuries, for example, the Saudis hold. The Saudi government or Saudi citizens or Saudi institutions. The U.S. Treasury, one of their deals they did with Saudi Arabia back in the 70s was the petrodollar deal, which for protection by the U.S. military, Saudi Arabia would sell their oil in dollars, and that's still on that agreement. And the other quid pro quo, so to speak, that Saudi Arabia got is that the U.S. Treasury would not report Saudi Arabia's holdings for political reasons, because at the time a lot of the Arab countries were not happy with the U.S. because of the Arab-Israeli conflict. So Saudi Arabia didn't want to be seen to be holding treasuries. So what the U.S. Treasury does is they report OPEC countries' holdings of treasury. So we don't really know how many treasuries the Saudis have. But apart from that, it's not only treasuries that the Saudis hold. The Saudis hold all kinds of assets in the U.S. They own real estate, they own stocks, they own corporate bonds, they own, mortgage-backed securities, everything. The Saudi Arabia, prior to the 1970s, was not a very wealthy country. Now, since that deal and the fact that the embargo led to the oil embargo in 1973 led to a huge spike in the price of oil from around $3 to like $40 in 7-8 years. It made the Saudis, unimaginably wealthy, and they're still very wealthy. I'm sure they squandered a lot of that wealth, but the fact that they have this petrodollar deal, it means that all their earnings, all their earnings are in dollars. So they have to recycle that by buying U.S. real assets, paper assets, whatever it might be. And in April, there's a lot of talk about the Saudis coming out and threatening to sell a lot of their U.S. dollar assets if Congress went through with JASTA, J-A-S-T-A, which is this law that allows private citizens to sue foreign governments. It's not only the Saudi government, but, for all intents and purposes right now, it is. So what do I think is going to happen? Well, right now, as I speak, the stock market is almost near the all-time highs. It's a few hundred points below, but it's near the 2015 high. The Dow is at 18,330, only down 4 points. Gold hasn't exploded higher. The dollar is still steady. €1 is still $1.12. The pound is $1.30. So looking at this, even though it happened, the House vote was probably after the market close. Don't remember. I don't know exactly, but I guess the Saudis haven't been able to react. Some people were saying that back in April that was a bluff, that they're trying to discourage the U.S. government or Congress from passing this law. All I can say, though, is that back during World War II, for example, Switzerland had its U.S. dollar holdings frozen because, the U.S. knew that Switzerland was, even though they're neutral, they were concerned that they would use those funds to deal with, the enemy, so to speak. So the Saudis can, start liquidating all their assets in the U.S., but the U.S. Treasury could freeze Saudi assets. So yeah, if they're gonna do this, they gotta do it in a stealth manner, which is very difficult these days because the United States Treasury, the Federal Reserve, SWIFT, they're all like, the U.S. can really hurt you because they control the dollar system. Look at what they did to Russia in 2014 when Russia, annexed Crimea after the coup in Ukraine. They put a lot of, they hurt Russia financially. So the U.S. could hurt Saudi Arabia financially. So it's difficult to say. They could try to sell off a lot of assets. Yesterday, there was an agreement, OPEC, to cut oil production, and some people argue that that's how the Saudis are going to hurt U.S. Public by raising oil prices. But to me, it doesn't seem like that's happening right now. Oil is at 46.85 U.S. crude. We've seen it at 150. Is it really hurting U.S. consumers at this price? I don't think so. They'd need to get it back above 50 or 60, and they haven't done it right now. And OPEC is very, how can I say, a fractious organization. They hardly ever agree on anything. So I saw a movie yesterday because I wanted to have a look at it, and it's called Rollover. It was a movie made in 1981, and it's kind of interesting because it's about how the Saudis back in 1981 siphoned secretly at first, with the help of a U.S. bank, siphoned a lot of their petrodollars overseas and into gold. And then at one point, they were, the Saudis, were unhappy with what happened with one of their banks in the U.S., so they decided to, sell all their dollar assets. And it was a major collapse of the dollar in this movie. Stock markets collapsed, gold went through the roof. It was a complete financial meltdown. But the interesting thing is that in the beginning, the dollar was collapsing against all the other currencies like the Deutschmark, Swiss franc, British pound. But then all those other currencies as well collapsed. So it was a complete meltdown of the dollar system, fiat system. Will that happen now? I don't know. It's something to keep an eye on. But as the markets stand right now, things are very, very steady here. I know this weekend is the big weekend where the yuan will be added to the SDR basket on Saturday, October 1st, and then October 2nd and 3rd. That's the end of the Shemitah and the beginning of the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah. A lot of people think there's going to be some kind of Jubilee event. We've only got today and tomorrow these are the last 2 days. If something's going to happen, it could happen next week. I don't know. It's just something to keep an eye on. We could, wake up Monday, Tuesday, and things are just as they're now. So that's it. So we'll have to see what the Saudis do. We'll have to see how the markets react. As of now, the Dow is pretty unchanged from yesterday. It's early here in London. It's before 10 a.m., so before 5 a.m. New York. I guess the Saudis could start, if they're going to start selling U.S. assets, they can do it through London at first, but they might wait till the market comes in the U.S. Or it might be business as usual. Nothing might happen. The Saudis might have been bluffing back in April. So that's what I have to say about that. So if you enjoy my videos, please like, share, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like to donate to my channel, there are some links below in the description. I accept Bitcoin. You can donate through PayPal or Patreon. Take care. Bye.